Hello everyone, I'm John. I'm a software developer and software architect at the City of Paris, and I'll be presenting some parts of the Lutece project. So today we're going to talk about it, this CMS and development platform. So first, let's start with a bit of history. The project started in 2002 when the City of Paris released Lutece version 1 as free software using a BSD-like license. It was the first public organization in France to open its source code like this. And the words free software are really chosen because not only is it open source code, but there was a real drive, political drive, and to adopt the free software philosophy. And it was something that was really important at the time. In the years after this release, the Lutece project continued, and the City of Paris also continued its involvement with free software and open source software events. So we went to Paris Capitale du Libre, Open World Forum, Paris Open Source Summit, Rencontre Mondiale du Logiciel Libre, etc. And in 2014, we came to the OW2con'. In 2015, the City of Paris joined the OW2 consortium as an enterprise member. And this year, in 2016, Lutece became an OW2 matchup project. And we're very happy that yesterday we got the award. So please visit the Lutece project on the OW2 website. So what is Lutece and how did it become what it is today? It started as a CMS and was allowing non-technical people to build websites that had dynamic document models, publishing workflows, search engines, newsletters, and forums. All these tools were integrated together so that the search results would correctly search into the forum posts and the published documents. The publishing workflow would allow to ensure that the content that was being published was correct with reviews, validation. Only some people were authorized to publish things on the website. So that's, I guess, normal features for a CMS. But it also had another side to it, which was a Java enterprise portal, which allowed IT integration and business application integration and authentication management. This duality is allowed because Lutece is really and has been becoming more and more of a development framework where core services and APIs are brought by the framework. The framework also offers a code generator when you need it. Code generators are not always the answers, but sometimes they're a good tool to solve some problems. And all of this is allowed to develop several generic plugins that can be assembled to deliver complex services. So for example, if you want to build a web form that allows the Parisian to submit I don't know, ideas and then export those ideas into a format that can be searched or that can be analyzed for statistics. All of this can be easily done with all the plugins, the generic plugins that were developed. Here's a short list, a non-exhaustive list of people who have used or are using Lutece and people who have skills in integrating Lutece solutions. Of course, it's not written here, but the City of Paris itself is using Lutece to build some of its most known websites. So, for example, if you've walked in the streets in the recent days, you must have seen the advertising for Budget Participatif. which is the big thing right now. And it's built using Lutece. The next project also will be about managing the user interaction with the city of Paris, and will be built on Lutece. I'd like to take a moment here to talk about accessibility, which has been discussed this morning. And accessibility has always been a big part in Lutece, because as a public service, there's even more a responsibility in providing services that everyone can use. So it's really important for us, and it's a core part of the framework. And we have designed the framework and the core parts with accessibility in mind, and we try to provide services and documentation to allow people to develop their own business applications, their own parts that can fit into Lutece with accessibility in mind. I'm going to focus on one key feature of Lutece, which is really important. It's that it's based on a core plugin architecture and really aims to be a truly modular system. This comes from observation from real-world application development, where many times you would end up with a very big unmaintainable system, and the observation was that modularity was really the only way to continue developing it with efficiency. So in Lutece, everything is a plugin, even the content management system itself. So this is really important, because it means that if your needs are not covered by generic plugins and composing generic systems, and you find that you need to develop your own plugin, you won't be blocked in a way that you would think, oh, how come this plugin can do that and I cannot do it with my plugin? So that's a real strength in Lutece. So plugin document and plugin HTML are plugins that allow you to publish contents, either typed content for the document with the workflow that I was talking about earlier, about validation. And HTML is plugin HTML allows you to publish really handwritten HTML or with a rich text editor, so untyped content. Okay, all these features have led to the development of over 400 plugins, and that's a pretty big number. And that has brought challenges. So the challenge is, how do we manage all these different plugins? So to manage all those plugins, we've relied on the Java ecosystem and its proven, reliable tools. So at the Java level, in the code, we use Java features to develop plugins. So the fact that you can have jars and define interfaces and use a class loader and other mechanisms such as dependency injections or other mechanism to compose classes. We have developed a Maven plugin. So we use Maven to assemble web apps, and our Maven plugin allows every project either being a plugin or other types of project to deploy a readily testable web app, even if it's only, so a plugin would only provide, for example, a part of a page, but you can easily bundle the plugin in the core and deploy a full working website, working only on the code for the plugin. We also have written a parent POM that's used by all the projects and defines important things such as the check style, PMD rules. It defines the common used library versions so that we know that work well together. And all of this allows the projects to not have to work on this part of the picture. Maven is also very useful to build good documentation. So there's the very technical documentation, the Java doc, but there's also the Maven site that can build beautiful websites, including so documentation and reports that we use. So we have configured Maven to generate websites for all the different plugins in a coherent way, and so all the components benefit from this central configuration. I'll show a bit of documentation later on the stuff we've done. We use other very known and proven projects to manage all these components. So Jenkins for continuous integration, which will send you an email as soon as you do something bad. It will also generate the latest version of the docs and reports. The people from Spago BI were talking about their GitHub migration and how it helped with continuous integration, and I can testify that it's true. We also migrated from SV and Subversion to GitHub. And so I'll show the links to the Lutece platform GitHub site later at the end of the presentation. And so we use the GitHub Jenkins integration to launch unit tests every time someone commits on the project. We also use Jira as a bug tracking and release documentation project. So we really try to have a precise and accurate and true description of our projects in Jira, so that when we make a release, Jira automatically generates the list of new features, bugs that were fixed for each release. And finally, we use features from SonarQube to try and monitor the quality, the global quality of the code. Obviously, having 400 projects, you have to aggregate and build statistics to know where you can most efficiently spend your energy to improve your code. At the Java level, we try to push conventions so that developers can quickly dive into projects. So we really strive to have a business and presentation separation. The presentation can be using plain HTML or using so portlets, which is parts of the pages, or full page apps, or based on web services. And for the business logic, we try to really separate using the simplified AGB model of service, home, and DAO object. Coding style, the coding style is enforced by the global POM configuration in Maven. This is how the documentation looks. On the left, you can see the Maven website. And on the right, you can see the README, in the Markdown README on GitHub that's generated from the same xdoc source from the Maven project with the xdoc2MD tool that was developed inside the Lutece project. So yeah, I think we're running short of time, so I'm going to go really fast over this one. We've made it really easy to deploy websites to different environments, and even when you're not when you're working on a plugin code, you can easily deploy a website that has all the stuff necessary to run a full website, not just a plugin, and that's really important. All the measurements we do on the 400 plugins are in these different tools. reports, SonarQube, etc. in GitHub. And we've built a small custom development that's also part of Lutece that aggregates all this information from the other tools. It looks like this. So we have graphs helping us to see where we should focus our energy to improve the code base. Here are a list of documentation and resource about the project. You'll find us on the OW2 website and the OW2 Forge. There's the official French website. You can also go to the demo site that's wiped every 3 hours, so you can mess with it all you want. And the code and the technical documentation is also available. And if you want to see, you can also go to budgetparticipatif.paris.fr, which was just where the campaign just started. Thank you for your attention.